G'day and welcome to Isol8, 8 Songs of Meaning podcast. Isol8 is about bringing you a unique conversation from a special guest who is a touring artist or touring roadie. I wanted to shine a light on the talented people of the arts to find out some of their most personal musical highlights and the stories behind them. The flow and effect of COVID-19 has meant cancellations of large music festivals as well as your favourite local gigs. As a result, an estimated 500,000 people in Australia in the music industry are currently out of work. Support Act is a charity that assists financially when the industry falls on difficult times such as this. If you enjoy the podcast today, I encourage you to make a donation if you're in a position to do so. As well as musicians, there are many people behind the scenes who make gigs happen. The sound engineer, the tour manager, the lighting designer and more. They all play a pivotal role to ensure that we as punters enjoy the best possible performance night after night. It's important to remember that these uncertain times will pass. The shows will go on, and these wonderful creative people will get back to doing what they love. So, let's meet the people behind the musical magic. If you are into heavy music in Australia, chances are you know Tim Price. Pricey is the person behind The Faction, a dedicated heavy music radio channel, as well as running his own PR company, Collision Course. Pricey has been in the music industry since 2006 and is also the mastermind behind the annual Hardest 100 countdown. He has worked with bands such as Sevendust, Steel Panther, The Used and Dead Letter Circus. You will usually find him backstage interviewing artists at festivals such as Unify and Good Things. Fresh out of ISO in Brisbane, Pricey joins us today to share his Isol8, 8 Songs of Meaning. Welcome, Pricey.
Hey, Bianca, how are you?
I was going to say, the nicest man in Australian heavy music.
Oh, well, that's very, very lovely of you. Thank you.
Nah, you're the best. We all, everyone who's listening who knows you, I think would definitely agree with me that you're just Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, well, that's very, very, very kind. I appreciate that.
Great. Now, Pricey.
Yes.
I just realised that I've forgotten to print off half my notes, but that's cool. Let's just roll with it. Now, my first question, if I recall correctly, is, obviously, firstly, we're speaking in the times of the coronavirus. It's a fucking weird time. People are in various stages of isolation. You're in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia. I'm in Perth, in Western Australia. And both of us have a lot of friends down in Melbourne and Victoria who have had like a massive spike in the last week. Yeah. And things are not looking too good.
Yeah, I feel like from this weekend onward in Queensland, I feel like this is going to be the test because we've just opened the border to New South Wales.
Right.
And on Friday, apparently there was lines for hours at the border, coming over to come into I guess Gold Coast and go to the beach or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what happens to that, and whether we're going to end up.
So things are pretty open. Like obviously Brisbane, like in the city itself, everything's open and you can have dinner and you can go out and things like that.
Yes, to an extent. Obviously, when you go to a restaurant or anything like that, if you're gonna eat in, you need to sign in with your details.
Yeah,
and,
cool. Okay, so you guys are about maybe a week or two behind WA as far as loosening the restrictions, by the sound of it.
A little bit, yeah. You guys. I think probably 3 weeks or so ago, you had your first gigs.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm lucky. I feel lucky that I'm in WA, so things are going well. Now, the reason that I brought that whole thing up, segue, is because a lot of people are in isolation, I have been asking my guests what their quarantini is, so their drink that they're favouring during isolation. Have you got a quarantini?
It's not a cocktail or anything like that.
Okay. Doesn't have to be. But it could just be water.
It is a beer.
Okay.
But my friend, when lockdown was really hectic and you weren't allowed to have lots of guests over and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
my friend, who's also named Tim, he came around, he bought a couple of 6-packs of these, and we sat in my front garden, so we were out in the open, and we sat at either end of the table. It was ridiculous, but we did, and it was it's the same brand as Bolter.
I don't drink beer, but okay.
Oh, okay. But they've got like a mid-strength.
Bolter, BALT.
ER, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, they've got a mid-strength called Captain Sensible. So I've been drinking those because I really enjoy them. They're just a great drinking beer.
Is it just me, or have the whole beer company marketing department's just gone on steroids the last few years? Some of the the designs and the names and the puns and it's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not just you can't just put out a beer and call it
Swan Gold,
something dry or something anymore. It's not.
The days of Ted's are done.
Yeah, Ted's. Oh my god.
Showing my age.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question is, if you've got your quarantini, what are you eating with your quarantini? So what's your favourite isolation snack or touring snack?
Yeah, so I've had a few things happen to me this year, so it's not just necessarily coronavirus that sort of locked me down, but one of the big things that got me through quarantine was trying to make sure that I kept a routine of sorts.
Yep.
And so, it kind of went hand in hand with my gym routine, which it's just making sure that I made my lunches for every day. And my lunch is just I make it's just chicken breast, and I slather that with Nando's dress.
Can we talk about Nando's sauce? Because people find it strange that I carry this in my handbag, but I actually do.
Yeah, no, I love it.
And then I'm like, where's my Nando's? Oh my God, I was taking my Nando's. I have one at work. I have one at home. I have one in my handbag. Handbag Nando's, work Nando's.
Yeah, I got that and hot sauce everywhere.
Right.
But potato, sweet potato, just a ton of green.
It's just health life.
Lots of colours, yeah.
Health life. That's great. I'm all
but
about
just
that.
making sure that I had routine with it as well, that I did it for Sunday, I had it for my lunches. And
I feel like most of us plan to be like adults and I'm going to meal plan this week, I'm going to cook for the whole week, I'm going to be so organised, and then it's just
out the window.
Yeah. If you've been able to stick to it, I take my hat off too. I think that's awesome. And it is great for health, and I know you and I definitely offline have had lots of chats around health and healing and food and
what food means to us,
exactly, yeah. Okay, that's a whole other podcast.
That's a breakfast with that, but yes.
Cool. We'll talk about that when we finish.
Sure.
Now, my last question before we get into the main part of the podcast is how we met. So I usually let my guests tell the story of how they think we met, and then I just tell them the correct story. But so tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you the real story.
Well, as far as I know, we met at Big Sound.
Yes.
In Brisbane. I can't remember what year.
I think it was 2018 or 17.
That sounds about right.
Maybe it was before that. It was around
the year that Regurgitator played at the Brightside, wasn't it? Not Regurgitator.
Yeah, that was 18. But I feel like I might have met you beforehand with the Dead Letter Circus guys, and I just don't remember when or
possible
how, because I've been over there with them quite a few times. I was there for my birthday and my annual birthday weekend in September.
That's right, of course.
Which combines with
it's with Jess Vincent as well.
Yeah, with Maggie, Jess, and obviously it's usually Big Sound that week too. So
yeah, not this year.
No, not this year. But I have been to 2 Big Sounds because of my birthday, which has been cool. But yeah, I remember meeting you there very briefly, and then I saw you backstage at Unify with Carnival. That was 2019.
19.
And then I saw you also backstage at Good Things at the end of 19.
Yeah.
This whole year is totally throwing me of how far away and when things happen.
It's topsy-turvy, isn't it?
So weird.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, I remember seeing you again. When I saw you at Good Things, actually, you were backstage, and I can't remember who you were interviewing at the time, but you had a snake.
Mid-interview. Thanks a lot.
You had a snake, wrapped around you, and I was like, Why is there a snake backstage?
I was conquering fears that day.
Is that what it was? Okay.
It was. A couple of years ago at the... I don't know why they did this, but I went to a Star Wars midnight premiere.
Oh, I just like to let listeners know that you are the biggest fucking nerd I've ever met.
Yeah,
and
what?
You are obsessed with Star Wars and other associated nerd shit that I don't understand. So I find it fucking weird.
At this premiere, there was the RSPCA were there, and they were like raising money or whatever.
At Star Wars?
Yeah, it was midnight. I'm like, take these animals home. But
they're not to sleep. They're not nocturnal.
But there was a woman walking around with a snake, and you could get a photo if you made a donation, essentially, with the snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it just really, like, freaked me out, and I was like, nah, and I'd, like, sort of walk away from
Snakes are scary, yeah.
They are, but at Good Things, they were all there backstage, and I was like, no, you know what, I'm gonna get over that. I'm gonna let this dude, and he was so good.
Yeah.
He just talked very calmly and just sort of, like, gradually introduced this snake onto me, because he's like, they sense your, like,
fear,
tension, and so
I should clarify, there wasn't snakes just like on the ground backstage. They were there with like a wrangler and stuff. It wasn't like
it's not just for the international viewers.
The international, this is like, oh my god, snakes! I knew it. Australia, we're all gonna die. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, but it was huge. It was at least like this sort of round and so strong. And oh my god.
Oh well, good on you. You did it. You conquered that fear. It's
and
amazing.
then yelled at me like, "Hey, Pricey!"
I can't remember. I have to admit, I was fucking drunk that day.
Some of us.
Me plus butterfly effect equals bad. That's the equation. Okay, let's get into the main part of the podcast.
Let's do it.
Now, what was the first song or album that you ever purchased and where from?
So my very first CD that I bought was it was a compilation record.
Is this a loophole for the question? Okay, I'll allow it.
Isn't it?
It's fine. It can be a compilation.
Anyway, so it was Smash Hits '93.
Oi, I actually think I owned this, but go on.
Yeah, and it had a bunch of stuff on it. It had like Lenny Kravitz and Terence Trent D'Arby.
Bangers. You should probably Google it. Could you Google the track listing?
Let's do this.
Yeah, if you can, because I'd love to have. I'll add it into the playlist.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's probably going to be all bangers.
It definitely is all bangers.
Yeah. I used to buy Smash Hits magazine back then. Did you? And I used to read the lyric sheets. That was like where I first started my obsession with lyrics.
So, interestingly, this is, again, I'm terrible with lyrics.
I'm good. I'm pretty good.
I know you are. But House of Pain's Jump Around is the only song in this song that I know all the lyrics to. And it's because of this CD. Yeah. I'm terrible with remembering lyrics. So House of Pain, Jump Around was on there. So
how does it start? Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin.
Oh yeah, pop it in, pack it in. Oh no, you've got me. No, I'm not going to do it.
We allow singing on this podcast. And
yeah. So it's got like Wreckx and Effect, Rump Shaker.
Oh, all I want to do is zoom, 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 and boom, boom. Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah. The Shaman with Ebenezer Good. I don't know if you remember.
Skip, I remember it. Nah. FF.
Yeah, Terence Trent D'Arby, She Kissed Me.
Oh, Sign My Name, Terence Trent D'Arby. Best.
Sure.
That song's the best. What else?
And I know you were listening to some like Enigma the other day.
Oh yeah, I was. I listened to the album, 2 albums.
Yeah, I'm about it.
So good.
So it's got Deep Forest, Sweet Lullaby. Do you remember that song?
Yes, I love Deep Forest. I have a deep affinity for this type of meditation, relaxation, world music. I'm into it.
I'm about it as well.
Yeah.
Happy Birthday, Helen by Things of Stone and Wood.
Yeah, I mean, skip, because it's like, it's Bogan FM, but anyway. When we are Bogan, it's not banging.
It's on your data, You Don't Treat Me No Good.
Yeah, that's a great song. This is a great track listing. What else?
Yeah. Believe by Lenny Kravitz.
That was the first ever. Oh, if one day it's like I ever get someone to do the podcast on me, that was the first ever piece of music I bought. That CD single.
Oh, no
Sorry,
way.
Cat single.
Oh, it was a Cass single.
Yeah,
wow.
Sorry, it was Cat single for Believe, and Are You Gonna Go My Way was the B-side. There you go.
Are You Gonna Go My Way? Oh, yeah, of course.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yes. Why can't
I reckon I
anymore?
owned this CD. Anyway, we'll move on. But that was an absolute banging track list, and I'm definitely going to include it in the show notes because I just want to listen to it myself.
Yeah, nice.
Now, keeping it back in the old school, what was the first ever live gig that you attended?
The live gig that I attended first was Silverchair.
My Silverchair.
No way.
And Kenny's too, in his episode.
What?
Yeah. We were at the same show.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was in Rockhampton, and it was on the tail end of the Frog Stomp tour.
I wonder if it's the same tour that I went to. But go on, what year was it?
96.
Yeah, it's the same one. It's the
my God.
same one.
Oh my God! So I was
hilarious.
13.
Yeah.
And
I was 12, I think. Yeah, 13.
Yeah, and it was at the Rocky Music Bowl. And
that's cool that they went regional on that tour.
Yeah.
Because they only played the city show in Perth.
Yeah, right. And then they came back probably end of the year after as well.
Yeah.
After they'd put out Freak Show.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They came back in must have been the end of 97 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And Silverchair, one of my ultimate favourite bands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a whole string of concerts at the Music Bowl in the 90s.
The Rockhampton Music Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like imagine like you've been to the Brisbane River Stage, right?
No, I actually haven't yet.
Okay.
No.
It's kind of like that. It's like a big natural amphitheatre.
Yeah, we have one in Perth. We have Red Hill Auditorium, and we have I forget the name of the other one. What's the main one? Oh shit! I saw Gautier there. I can't think of the name of it. Yeah.
Oh, banger!
Yeah, it was great. Rockhampton Music Bowl. Rocky is so diverse.
It's been demolished only in the last 12 months or so. Yeah, in the last 12 months or so.
Do you remember who the supports were on the Silverchair tour?
I want to say not on the first tour, no.
Oh, because on the Perth show it was Everclear as main support, and who else was it? Body Jar and Jebediah. It was like bang, bang, bang.
It was that.
Yeah,
minus
the
Everclear.
same tour, definitely.
It must have been minus Everclear. Must have only done the Cap Cities, whatever.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, cool. All right. Now, next question. Who was your biggest influence as a kid musically?
From my family? Or from my...
It could be,
yeah.
It could be a family member. It could be like a cousin. It could be someone from school or a teacher.
Yeah, so it's... so my family, my dad... his best mate was a bloke called Roy Graff, and Roy passed away a few years ago, and he was no relation to us, but he and his wife Roy's Uncle Roy and Auntie Jen.
Yeah, so it's like it's family.
They're family, right? So and their son Dale is a good 6 or 7 years older than me.
Yeah.
And they lived at the beach. They lived half an hour away from us, and they lived down at a little town called Yeppoon. Yeah. And he was a surfer.
Queensland.
Yeah. He was a surfer, and he skateboarded as well. And this was like early 90s. It was like 1990, 91.
Yeah.
And I was about 8, and he was about 15 at the time. So, he was allowed to, he lived downstairs at their house. Sort of, he had a bit of independence and a bit of, his own space and all that sort of stuff. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And he, all through his room, he had band logos just like hand drawn all over,
like on the wall or like on
his
piece
cupboard.
of paper.
He had a cupboard, like a big wooden cupboard that he had like drawn band logos.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's like graffiti.
And over his desk, and just band stickers everywhere, and I just thought it was so cool. And he had, I
think if any of us didn't have a bedroom that looked like that, then I don't know.
Yeah,
I find that questionable.
yeah, exactly. And this was the thick of the grunge era.
Sick.
So he was just so into Nirvana.
One of my favourite bands.
Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. And,
awesome.
But he also, he was a skater as well, so he was right into, like, Green Day. He had hand drawn, like, Green Day's Dookie, like, cover. Like, he was, like, working on that on his desk. And,
that's awesome.
It was, and he was a drummer as well. And he was just like, oh, yeah, that's who I want to be. I want to be.
So what sort of bands did he introduce you to? So that grunge era. So is there?
Nirvana.
Okay, so Nirvana's your pick. Okay.
Yeah.
Which song?
I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit, probably, but like
the original and the best.
Stuff like that. Yeah. But like, he was the first person that, and I reckon you would get this as well, Bianca. Like the people in your circle know that you're all about music, and if people want to know anything about music, you should talk to Bianca about music. She knows it all.
That's very flattering, but I don't agree. But okay, I'm passionate about it. I'll take that.
Yeah, and so he's the first person I met that was like, when he talked about music, he's just like, oh man, you got to hear this, and you haven't heard that? Nah. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, okay, that is me. Like, that is me too.
Yeah, exactly. And so he was the first person. I was like, wow, this is, that's who I want. I want to be passionate about something, and like this music means something, and that was, and from there on, and like as soon as I turned 17, and like my parents didn't allow me to live downstairs at my house till I finished school.
I know this is quite a Queensland thing, though, right? Because in Queensland, people may not know, the Queenslander is actually a type of housing in Australia, specifically in Queensland, where the house is raised up on like wooden. Well, the houses are generally all timber, and they're raised up on stilts, and you can kind of park under the house. And
if you're a bit fancy, it's built in. Yeah,
and so they live at the top, and that's generally because there's a lot of flooding in Queensland.
Yes. Oh man, that house flooded every
so that's
summer.
why the underneath is all open. But as time's gone on, people have filled in their underneath and started to live down there. And
oh my god, we lost cars and a whole bunch of stuff unfortunately it never flooded when I lived in there, but it did when my sister lived down there. She woke up in the middle of the night, her bed was floating.
Oh my god, that's so scary. I've never, having been from WA, I've never experienced anything that remotely resembles a flood. So, that's full on. Now, moving forward, you are a person of the arts. I've designed the questions generally for musicians, but then I'm kind of interviewing a whole bunch of different creative people, so I've sort of customised it a little bit. So, was there a song or album that made you feel that being a person of the arts was going to be your path in life and your career? You said you've been in the industry since 2006.
Yeah.
So, what was the album or song related to that?
Was this the Dead Letter Circus one? Yes. Did I respond? Yeah, okay, cool. So 2006, I was working as a teacher.
A school teacher?
I was a high school teacher.
Wow.
And
you would have been such a cool teacher.
I was the IT teacher.
I feel like because you were the biggest nerd, you would have been like so into like, pop culture stuff that teenagers would have been into.
It is funny. I've run into students since, and we've talked about that as well.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But I was playing in a covers band at the time. Yeah,
I'm not going to hate on you for that. People need to do that to make money. I get it.
But so what happened was eventually long story short, I ended up quitting my teaching job, and I went and worked at a pub, and started booking the bands at the pub.
But was there something that made you go, I don't want to be a teacher anymore, I want to do music, I want to be in the music industry?
Yeah, so I had started doing, like, my friend Craig, who was the bass player in the band, the covers band, we started putting on original music gigs because there was none happening in Rockhampton.
Yeah.
And so we started, I suggested this one particular pub because I had this great beer garden that was closed in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the perfect place to put original music. And we went and started doing, like, local stuff, putting local bands in there. And then we started to get just, like, smaller touring bands come up from Brisbane.
Yeah.
And then Craig sort of tapped out. He went travelling for 12 months overseas, and he left it with me. And he was sort of like the professional of the two of us. I was the real passionate, this are the bands we should be getting and all of that sort of stuff kind of guy. But he was the one that was, like, doing all of the booking and all that sort of stuff.
The actual logistical side. Yeah.
Yeah, and he sort of taught me how to do it all, and then handed it over and went, all right, Pricey, it's yours now. You go for it.
So it's kind of born out of necessity.
He was always doing
the regional town needed a place, needed bands,
and all of the bands that were there were just crying out for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They needed a space. They needed, but no one had the skills. And Craig worked for ABC Radio in Rockhampton. He was the on-air personality, and I was a high school teacher. And then at this big sort of meeting of all of the musos, we were like the professionals out of everyone. So they all kind of looked at us and was like, oh, you can write a professional letter. Like, you know what I mean? So we kind of just we did it, and then we started doing it. And Craig was always like, I'll do it because it's for the betterment of, you know, the arts in this regional town. But he didn't want to do it forever. But as soon as I found it and got involved with it, I was like, oh no, this is it. This is me now.
That's awesome.
And that's when I quit my job and just started working at the pub. And so I was pulling beers on the Friday night and Saturday night, but then also working during the week at the pub as well, and booking the bands and doing all the marketing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And long story short, this is way back in the MySpace days.
Yeah. Well, I've talked about MySpace a little bit on the podcast with Yogi. Yeah.
And so I've always been good at, like, looking at where people are touring and going, oh, I reckon, we can get them in that space there between those two dates.
Right, gotcha.
And
then you try and book them.
Yeah, so there was a Butterfly Effect Chevelle Dead Letter Circus.
This tour definitely came to Perth, and I definitely went to it. Yeah.
And it was going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so going up the coast.
Yeah.
So it's Mackay, Townsville, Cairns.
Yeah.
So I emailed both Butterfly Effect and Dead Letter Circus and said, hey, why don't you just leave a day early and come play Wednesday night in Rockhampton? Butterflies didn't get back to me at all. But
I'll bring that up with Clint when I have him on the podcast. Yeah,
he won't remember. But the Dead Letter boys did, because at that time they weren't booked by, like, New World or
they were an independent band back then.
They were an independent.
Sure.
They were back. That was back.
What year was this? 06?
2006.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I was living in Melbourne then, so I think I saw them in Melbourne. But yeah, go on. This is the year that I met them. Yeah.
The EP had just come out.
Yeah. Oh, that EP.
I had discovered The Mile on the Loud Noises compilation CD. Yeah. That was on the front of Blunt.
Yeah.
What a
fucking great song, by the way.
And it was track 20. It was like the last track.
Balls deep in it, yeah.
And so I didn't hear it for a long, long time because every time I get in my car, the CD would restart. So
technology has come so far.
Yeah. So I never got.
You never got to it.
And then when I did, I was like, "The fuck is this?"
I was going to say. There you go.
And but then the song that it was, so they came and played Wednesday night. There was 100 payers that came
it's
through.
It's pretty good for a Wednesday in Rockhampton.
Wednesday night in Rockhampton.
Pretty good, Pricey.
They came through. It was when Kim still had that red streak through his hair.
Oh my God, I remember that.
And Scott Davey was playing drums.
Yes,
Liquor
he
wasn't
was.
in the band yet.
That's right. And Vinny wasn't in the band yet either.
Vinny wasn't in the band yet, so it was still Rob playing guitar.
Yeah, so no Luke Palmer either.
Luke Palmer. And no... who? What was the guy's name that played guitars before Palmer? Tom.
Rob. Oh,
Tom.
Yeah, no, Rob, but Tom wasn't in it back then.
No.
They were a four-piece back then.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. And the song was Alien. They finished with Alien.
Yeah, see, I mean, I love this song, but it's like, I feel like it's a love song, in a sense.
Maybe.
In comparison to the rest of the EP, because the EP had the Mile...
to the plot.
Yeah, Disconnected and Apply, which is the big one. It's like, it's all killer, and then you get to this Alien, which is like quite slow compared to the rest of it. I did dig it though.
Section. Yeah. Very specific section of that song.
Yeah.
That I remember from that show specifically. Because they were the last band on, all my duties were done, so I just went and watched and moshed.
Yeah.
But
what's the section?
Do you know that bit where it all stops and there's that just bass line, do 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 do?
Oh yeah.
And it was just thumping through this PA that I had, and then it all goes ba 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 ba, and like it just
that signature sound,
smashed me, absolutely smashed me, And in that moment, I was like, nah, this is it. That's the feeling I'm chasing.
Yeah, I get it. It's like that sweet spot.
Oh, yeah.
Can I tell you something really embarrassing?
Go nuts.
And the person who I'm going to sort of throw in it, I don't know if he's probably a listener, but oh well. Sorry, Chris. Back then, I just met, I was in a new relationship, and we were like, gangbusters in love with each other, and I just moved to Melbourne like to be with him, and that EP was like our songs type of thing. So when I was still in Perth, before I'd moved, he posted me a green alien like a toy because of that song, because that was like our song, and I'm so embarrassed because I know that Dead Letter listened to this podcast, so sorry guys.
No. Here's the thing. Those guys have been so kind to me over the years because
they're the best.
They know that I'm a fan, and to do PR for one of their records, like I did the promo for our thesis in Australia. Yeah. And they trusted me. Yeah. With that record, and that record, I can honestly say, is the thing that projected my business forward in the industry as well.
Props to DLC.
Yeah, because like I had just recently at that point done the deal with my business partner, and separately, neither of us probably would have got the contract. Yeah. But the fact that we had just done this deal together, Stephen was the radio guy, and I was I did all of the press and it was like a perfect synergy. Yeah, and the fact that they trusted us with that record and everything has just kind of fallen into place since then. So awesome. Those guys have just been so nice to me over the years in that they know I'm a fan and they probably know I'm a bit of a sweater. Is it like a Punisher? No. It's not. What's the difference? I'm not a Punisher. No, I mean, I've never heard that word before. They just know that I sweat their band and their songs. You love it? Is that what that means? Oh, I've never heard that, sweater. Okay. Well, I've learned something new today. That's good. I always learn something when I record these podcasts. I'm like, what the fuck's that?
They're a bit of a sweater. Yeah, okay. I love those boys. They'd be listening, so shout out to Dead Letter Circus. If you haven't heard of them, you should have heard of them.
Where have you been?
Yeah, exactly. They're one of Australia's biggest, I guess they're a progressive rock band. Would you put them in that genre?
I do. And they're absolute gems of humans.
Yeah,
too.
and they're just absolute fucking champions. All right. Speaking of, so you did the Dead Letter Aesthesis promo.
Yep.
That obviously sounds like it was up there, but what is a song that brings back memories of a favourite tour or gig that you've either worked on, promoted, favourite touring moment, something of that ilk?
Yeah. So I did, when I got the email about this tour, I literally, I fell off my chair.
Like when you realised you were doing it, you were going to be promoting?
Yeah, well, I got the email inviting me to do the PR for the Sevendust tour.
Oh, wow. That's
and for the fashion to co-present it.
Oh, wow. What year was this?
This is only last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I saw Sevendust in Perth last year. God,
Yeah,
it feels like 100 years ago, but yeah.
So, yeah, it was late the year before. It was late 2018 when I got the email about it.
Yeah, because it was like April 19, correct. I think they did the tour. Yeah.
It absolutely was. And I had a girl called Maureen working for me at the time, and she had just started. And she might have only been a week into working with me. And I think we were just sort of kicking around at 5 o'clock. We'd both knocked off or whatever.
Yeah.
I was waiting for my lift to come pick me up. And the email came in. And I'm like, oh!
It just went from 6 to midnight.
Yeah. Sevendust. And I'm like, oh! And just literally like slid off my chair. And like Maureen is younger than me. So
so she didn't quite get the relevance.
She knows who Sevendust is, but probably doesn't have that like long-term, they were one of the bands that got you into heavy music, sort of feeling with them. And, you know, I just remember going through that like 15, 16-year-old, like I just started playing drums. You know, the internet's just starting to become a thing. Yeah. And I'm downloading just every song that I can just to like, cause, Rage Against the Machine was what first started me into it. And then like, I need more. And just like expand out. I'm like, Korn's becoming a thing. I need more. And just like other bands and like Korn and Sevendust, they're in the same, and so like, I just get every song I could. So, Black and Licking Cream and Bitch and, like, blah, blah,
These
blah,
are all Sevendust songs, by the way. He's not just like saying dirty shit.
Oh my God, yeah, I didn't even think. But then, there's a song on a record that came out in 2002. Might have been Animosity. Can't remember the name of the record. Yeah. But the song Praise was on that, and Praise is just
your banger.
It was my favourite song for so many years. And then to just work that record and that tour and to do that was one of the first times that I saw that just the absolute professionalism of an artist doing interviews. Right. So and it shows so much.
What was it about that though? Like, what was it that they did that made it stand out from any other sort of act? Interview-wise, yeah.
So the first thing that was very telling was that every media outlet wanted to talk to them, and they were chasing it down because they had done great interviews with Lejeune before, and they wanted him again. You know, like. He was just so personable and all that sort of stuff. So, first of all, it was a pleasure to get, and I got so much for them. Just, so many interview phono blocks with them. It was insane. Yeah. But then I had the chance to, when I scheduled all of the interviews for them, I actually, after they're done, I can get a download of the audio.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I listen to them just to make sure like quality is good, and or especially if it's going to radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to him speak, and I listened to a number of them, and he was the first person I'd listened to the interviews and gone like, this is amazing. Even like there's a lot of variance in quality of interview style, and interview skills, and even the ones that he could probably sense were like not top shelf.
Yeah, not quite asking the right questions. Yeah,
he managed to raise them. Up to him.
Yeah,
and also if they sort of went off on tangents. He would
pull it back.
Would bring it back.
Well, that's just a professional, you know. I mean, how long has that band been around for? I think I first started listening to them in 98, 99. So
but you'd be surprised how many bands don't have those skills. No, don't have those skills to be able to do that in interviews.
Well, it's funny, like when you think about, I'm pretty heavily interested in AFL football.
Yep.
And you know, you think about how nowadays they develop the players at such a young age. They give them media training, you know, they're taught about, you know, social media and all this sort of stuff. And in the music industry, I feel like there's none of that.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because the interview, the telephone conference scheduling system that we have is the one that's used by the AFL, by all of the teams in the AFL.
There you go.
Yeah. And so
what a coincidence.
It absolutely is. And because they use it because obviously they have media calls all of the time.
Yeah.
But then they also do it for like screening, also for like, you know, like when there's a new player or a new draft pick or something, like they have like big conference calls with them and their families and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So and we took the cues from and that system also they use it at like the NFL in the US and all of that sort of stuff.
All right. What's it called?
It's called Blinder.
Blinder. There you go. Never heard of it.
And it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And everyone that we use it for comes back raving about it. Even all of the international labels and tour promoters and all that stuff, they love it because it's just so good.
Oh, that's sick. Well, what I was sort of getting at was the fact that this is probably one of the only industries where you're not given, there's no rule book, you know.
Yeah. It's fairly unregulated as
exactly.
As a thing, yeah.
So speaking of Sevendust, they're one of your favourite bands. Let's talk about fanboy moments in that regard. Who's one of your favourite bands you've worked with, and what's a song relative to that?
Oh, was this the Sleep Token one?
Yes, it was.
Oh my goodness! So I absolutely fell in love with this band Sleep Token last year, and I love the mystery about this band. The fact that no one knows. They're from the UK.
Okay.
And I've been following them for about 3 years or so now. Mm-hmm. And before they were signed to this other label called Basic Records. Yeah. And I hounded them but never got any response back from them ever wanting to work promo for them.
Yeah.
And last year they progressively released an album over like the 12 months last year. Like they just like released a single every month.
Yeah.
Until the record was till all the songs were out.
Is this the Sundating record?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I've never heard of this band until I listened to The Faction Digital Radio.
Darn right.
And heard them.
Absolutely. Give it a flogging.
Yes. And I actually remember you said to me, "Are you going to love this band, Sleep Token?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, send me some songs." And then you sent me a couple of tracks. And I was like, it's a bit slow. Like, and then you're like, "Nah, listen to this one called The Offering," which is the one that you picked for the podcast. And I fucking lost my shit. And then I listened to the whole. That has probably been one of my top rotation albums during like ISO Corona time. I have not turned it off. It has been.
Yeah.
I'm fully about it. I've never I actually did Google them, and they wear masks and stuff.
Yes. Yes. No one knows who the players are.
Oh, really?
No one. No.
Oh, I'm trying to get a friend of mine on the podcast. He's just shy. Yes. I've sent him a couple of emails. I'm like, come on, do it. And he actually is friends with them. He's recorded with them.
Oh.
So I'm going to try and find out.
I mean, don't spoil it for me because I love the mystery.
Okay.
No, don't. I like to think that like, oh, maybe we're onto something here. But I don't know if I ever want to know. Because that's part
I feel like Slipknot, they have never been like, we're not going to tell you who we are. Like, we just, like, we all know who they are now. Yeah. All right, well, I'll report back on Sleep Token. I'll let you know. If anyone hasn't listened to Sleep Token, oh my Lord, please, if you're listening to this podcast right now, freaking click on the bloody Spotify playlist link and turn it on right now because it is so good. Yes.
That moment where it says take a bite and it kicks in like,
that stank face. So good. Apart from Sleep Token being bangers, my next question is actually about bangers from a genre that you wouldn't normally be associated with. So you're obviously a heavy music guy. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to pigeonhole you at all because you and I, like, you know what, it does happen. Range of music.
It definitely does happen.
Yeah.
Even my business partner, like, laughs at me because, I get my back up a little bit when people think that that's all I'm into.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I like other shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, anyone who's just got to see my vinyl collection to know that, like, it's not just all heavy music.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But, like, his response to that is like, dude, it's a very curated brand you have, you know, like the style of clothes you wear, the kind of things you're into.
Yeah.
It's like you walk into your office, you know, it's everywhere. Like, people could be forgiven for making that call, you know. I'm like, yeah fair enough.
Yeah.
But honestly, I went. This is a highlight of my life. I went to the Phil Collins concert.
I went to the Phil Collins concert too. Did you go with your mum?
No, I went with my sister and her partner.
Okay, I went with my mum, and I think about 4 of my friends. We all went with our mums. Like, we all went with our parents.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And with my ex-wife at the time as well. But it was like it was so joyous to see him play. But I mean, it took me by surprise that his health wasn't.
I've got to admit, I was sitting there watching it, going, Phil, you know, you didn't need to do this, bro.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
felt
got
like
to see
it
him.
wasn't right in a sense. I was like, this guy is very frail, and maybe we should remember him the way that, you know, he was, rather than he. Yeah.
Interestingly, at the end of last year, we were at the end of each year, our whole office goes away for a 2-day, 1-night like getaway. Yeah. We talk about the year that's been, where
like
we
a planning
want to go.
Thing. Yeah.
Exactly right. It's often, you know, chock-a-block full of music and booze and all of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
But we were on our way up there, and Stephen, my business partner, talked about how he had seen Wreckx play, and when she was horrifically ill, and it was just like he was very embarrassed. He's like, this promoter should be fucking ashamed of themselves, you know, for bringing her out in this state. You know, she couldn't barely sing, and, you know, all this sort of stuff. She died that day.
Oh my God. That's terrible.
Oh, I know. But it's like 10 o'clock at night. There's like the last people, you know, all of the oldies have gone to bed.
Oh my God, this is bad.
And it's me and like 2 or 3 other people, and I'm just, you know, doing the scroll, you know. Oh shit! And I'm like, oh my God, we listened to Wreckx on the way up and talked about how ill she was.
Stop it. Let's not. I feel bad. Horrible. That's terrible. Well, that planning session with your crew sounds a bit like a tour van type of time. Do you travel there together and travel back? Okay.
Yes.
So what's your favourite tour van song or driving song?
It's Korn's Got the Life.
What
to be
an
honest.
absolute banger.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I love the Follow the Leader album. This is peak time for me.
That album is really key to me.
Yeah.
So I saw my first festival that I went to was Big Day Out 99.
Same. That was my first Big Day Out.
Get out!
Yeah, dead set. And there was Korn, Hole, Marilyn Manson, Ammonia, Ash.
Tons.
There was someone else.
I sat there and the first sort of half of the day.
Yeah.
I was there at doors, and I bought a ticket on the gate.
No, I planned it. I was only 13, so I was like months ahead. I had to plan for it.
Anyway, so the opening band was an Indigenous band called the Rumpy Band.
Rumpy Band, yes, I saw them too. Because it was my first festival. I got there at 12.
So keen, yeah, exactly. So I was like, well, Rumpy Band, Frenzal Rom, Jebediah.
Did you sneak weed in? That we were trying to work out how to sneak in booze and weed. We were like, how are we going to get this inside?
Look, Bianca, I was a very good boy.
Sadly, I believe you.
I was 15. And I was very, very, very naive.
Well, actually, maybe I was. Maybe I was turning 15 that year. I can't remember. Anyway.
So yeah, I was turning 16.
Yeah.
And then Super Jesus, Living End, Regurgitator.
Yeah, I don't think all of those came to the Perth one. But anyway.
My God.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then about 3:00 in the afternoon, Korn played.
Yeah.
It was so early.
Yeah.
Because Follow the Leader had only just come out the year before.
I think that was my first ever crowd surf, actually, to Korn.
Wow. Yeah. I wish.
I love this album. Gosh, so much. Yeah. I thrashed it.
So what I did then the next day, and this is back in the day, obviously, this is the height of CDs.
Yeah.
So the next day I went into the Queen Street Mall in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And at the time there was a CD store there called HMV.
Yeah. I don't think we ever had HMV in Perth. We had like Brushes and Sanity.
Oh, Brushes! Did you ever have Into Music?
Oh, maybe? I can't remember. Sanity was the main one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brushes.
They were actually the same company. They were just like created like false competition.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so I walked out of there with a stack of CDs like this.
Yeah. That's what we all did back then.
Yeah, every band that I saw the day before, I bought their album.
Yeah, sick.
And then I went home to Rockhampton and I signed up for drum lessons.
Oh, that's so, it was so inspiring to you that you decided to take up drums.
That was it. And
I was playing drums then as well.
It was a big, like sliding doors moment for me. If like I hadn't have gone, I wouldn't have discovered all this stuff. I wouldn't have found that that's the path I want to take in my life and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like a pivotal shift.
Yeah, and then like just over the years, like I've had to do just so many. Like when I was playing in the touring band, I always go and visit my friends in regional Queensland and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of hours driving by myself, or driving the tour van or whatever.
Yeah.
And Got the Life's always one of those ones where when I get very tired, I put it on and just like scream along with it.
Yeah,
to keep me awake.
Yeah.
So that's the one that's my tour.
I got to say, even like the tour van is, it feels so insignificant, but when you look back on tours, sometimes some of the best shit happens. Like, I've never laughed so much as some of the shit I've heard inside a tour van. Now, Pricey, we're getting towards the tail end of the podcast. This is the last question of the main bit.
Sure.
The reason that I started this podcast was I wanted to raise money for Support Act. We are fundraising for Support Act, which are a charity that assists with musicians and creative people who fall on hard times, which the coronavirus.
Wonderful organisation.
Yeah, it's a fucking hard time for everybody, and I have concerned about the mental health of my friends in these creative industries. A lot of them are not working right now. They can't work. Even with some of the restrictions being lifted, it's not happening quickly, and it's scary times. So I know that I've struggled myself in these times, and
certainly.
So the last question is about a song that gives you strength, a power anthem for you, something of that nature. And what song did you pick?
I can't remember what I wrote. What did
it
I
was
write?
Spirit Box.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is it stuck with me. Yeah, this got released in February this year.
You're very passionate about this band. I've never heard of them. Where are they from? What's their vibe?
They're from Canada.
Okay.
And the singer in this band, her name's Courtney LaPlante.
Yeah.
And Courtney used to be I don't think she did any like melodic vocals in this band, but she, my God, what a missed opportunity. She used to sing in a band called I Wrestled a Bear Once.
That's the name of the band?
All one word. I wrestled a bear once.
So Canadian.
Yeah. But I think all she did in that band was just like the growls and screams, right?
Yeah. I wrestled a bear once.
Yeah, fantastic band name.
Awesome.
But anyway, as soon as I found this band, I found a song called Bleach Bath from them that sort of mid last year. And I just became obsessed with that song. But they've released a bunch of songs since. But the song that they released in February this year is a song called Blessed Be.
Which I have heard on the Faction on repeat for months. So now I'm into it too.
You know, it's for me too, right? You know,
I know.
It's like
look, I feel like all the listeners would agree if they could have their own radio station, all they would program is all the shit that they like.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm glad that you discovered them because, they're pretty freaking awesome.
I mean, I had something pretty significant happen to me in February, and despite not being a lyrics person, really,
you should be. Lyrics are
not that they don't impact me at all. It's more that like they often don't sink in. I don't even know.
I know what you mean. Like you sing things over and over, but you don't necessarily it doesn't permeate your brain.
I remember drum patterns, not necessarily lyrics. Right?
Yeah, I've talked about this on the potty with a couple of other guests about how musicians generally listen to music, and sometimes what normal day-to-day regular inverted commas people will hear is completely different to what a musician will hear. Like Mark, the producer of the podcast, he can't I'll listen to the lyrics and I'll get so emotionally involved with it. He doesn't even hear that. He hears a melody.
I feel emotion and passion.
Yeah.
Like when I can hear someone has put that's why Sleep Token appeals to me so much. It's just pure emotion.
Yeah.
In that's just like that. The singer Vessel, he left nothing in the tank.
Yeah. Actually, on that, I am wearing my North Lane Alien T-shirt.
Another one, Marcus. Oh my God.
Now, this album for me, far out for the last 12 months has absolutely pulled me.
I mean, the subject matter of that matter of that record. I mean,
he just laid his soul out there, and the fact that vulnerability was just so accessible to everybody, I think changed so many people's lives. They actually did a podcast about the making of the album, so if anyone's into North Lane or heavy music, hasn't heard it, go and check it out. It's freaking awesome. Now, Pricey, I'm going to move...
Sorry, I'll just finish off that Spirit Box. So that particular song, the verse lyrics about it is, it basically says something along the lines of like, I could survive in these chemicals for you, and it was something like, I stayed in this relationship as a crutch to preserve life.
Is that the lyric?
Yeah.
Wow.
And about like I can survive in these chemicals for you. Like I'll just preserve myself in this state for you, just to sort of preserve my life and preserve my current state. Just because
I feel like a lot of people could relate to that. Actually.
Yeah, and you know what I had just been through. It was a big revelation for me, and and
we're
so
so
it's
lucky to have music to pull us out of the shit. I feel.
Agreed. Yeah. And so that stuck with me, and you know, and I think honestly, you know, for my hardest 100 votes next year, that will be my number one without a doubt.
You're only allowed to vote once, Pricey. Actually, are you even allowed to vote? You own it.
I do vote, but I don't count them.
Well, that's good to know, though, because you do want to be part of it. Now, I know you're a little bit of a time constraint, so I'm just going to push on to our rapid-fire questions to finish off. So I'm just going to shoot 2 band names at you. Just pick one over the other. No explanation. And depending on your reaction, I might actually ask you a bit more about it.
Sure.
Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
Yeah, I agree. Metallica or Panther?
Metallica, every day.
Kendrick or Kanye?
Oh. Ugh. Kanye.
You don't like either of them? You're not into that?
No, I'm not into either.
Okay. Biggie or Tupac?
I know more. Tupac.
Okay, so you're not into...
From Rockhampton. You've got to be Tupac.
Why?
Everyone I knew in Rockhampton was into Tupac.
Oh, okay.
I just feel like I had lots and lots of friends, and I trust my Indigenous friends on that.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
They were all Tupac fans. Yeah. Tupac fans.
He was actually a lot more, I don't know what the word is, quite deep. Like, I think people didn't give him enough credit for how intelligent he actually was.
I just loved when I'd go over to, like, my friends' places or whatever, and, like, they'd have, like, Tupac flags on the wall and stuff.
Oh, it's amazing. Pretty iconic guy. All right, next one, Katy Perry or Taylor Swift?
Katy Perry. Katy Perry, without a doubt.
Okay.
God, she's gorgeous.
Well, I wasn't talking physically, but okay.
I know.
AC/DC or Cold Chisel?
Cold Chisel.
Oh, tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Okay,
that's
and the last one is Crowded House or Split Ends?
Crowded House. Yeah. Every day.
Can you go wrong with the Finn Brothers?
Beautiful. Beautiful songs.
Yeah,
beautiful songs.
Good. All right, well, that's the whole... There's a whole podcast done there.
Amazing.
We've smashed through the questions. We've smashed through the rapid fire. I didn't want to keep you past your time constraint.
Yeah. No.
Just a shout out to Support Act for everyone listening. If you're listening to the podcast, I greatly appreciate it. I've provided the links to the donate to Support Act. So yeah, if you can, please give. Otherwise, please stream the Spotify playlist, because all of those streams do go to the artists who are struggling at the moment. Pricey, what's coming up for you next as far as work? Can you divulge any cool tours or stuff that's happening? Is anything happening? Has the world just given up?
Well, I've been having a lot of Zoom and Skype meetings with overseas managers and labels and that sort of stuff about some partnerships and relationships with doing promo and developing artists in the Australia New Zealand territory.
Yeah.
I'm pretty pleased to say I've connected with I don't know if you've heard this band recently. If you've been listening to The Faction, you would have heard it. It's a band called Eskimo Callboy.
I don't think I've heard it yet.
So they've got this song called Hyper Hyper.
Actually, did you post about this recently? I feel like I've seen it. Okay, yeah.
And it's
Is it a comedy thing or is it like a metal thing?
Sort of both.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll check it out.
Like Yeah, go and check it out. Hyper
Okay.
by Eskimo Callboy, and it's sort of like they list themselves as like electronic core.
Okay.
So
I'll check it out.
yeah, you're gonna laugh your ass off.
Okay, I'll report back.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did the corona like totally ruin your business, or has it sort of recovered now? Or?
No, it's been an interesting one. It like in comparison to my business partner's business, his was so much more based in tours, festivals, conferences, large events.
Mm-hmm.
So about 80% of his work fell away.
Yeah.
And obviously JobKeeper was like really, really instrumental in keeping the doors open for those guys.
Yeah.
But like he's really utilized the time to diversify and go into ideas mode. And so he's come into all of these new different streams of income and ideas and projects and all that sort of stuff. My business stayed really stable through it all in terms of mine was a lot more based on releases, on music coming out and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of work already locked in for the first 6 months of the year, and very little of that fell through,
that's good.
which was amazing. It's fallen off a little bit in the last couple of months, and so we've had to activate JobKeeper now, but that's allowed me the time to start thinking about, and that's why I've been on all these calls and all that sort of stuff. So, I consider myself very, very lucky that my income stream didn't fall away.
Yeah.
But I feel like, with the faction, being able to support bands by playing them and by, interviewing bands and talking about this stuff and, just being a stable presence in the scene, just keep going and making sure people had something to listen to and to tell them about new music and give them something to look forward to and all that sort of stuff. Like, I tried to just give back a little bit in that way.
I've got to admit, the Hardest 100 actually countdown was sort of right at the start of the Corona thing. It was in early March, I think, was it?
Yeah, mid-March, yeah.
Mid-March, and that whole day I just listened to every single track and it was so good, and I'd saved the playlist and, it did bring joy to the world. So thank you It was
such a bittersweet day. Like,
I know usually you would be having a big party at Crowbar, which, rest in peace, Crowbar. I can't, let's not even, I've been so fucked up in that place and I'm so upset that I'll never get to do that again.
But, that was the day that the press conference from Scott Morrison happened. That was like, right, we're gonna do this.
That's right.
There was that day as well. It was like, so in between hosting it and all that sort of stuff, that press release was happening and my business partners were reporting on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think we're gonna just be working from home from now. I'm just like, I got to the end of the day, we celebrated and everything was great and Polaris was number one and we turned everything off and just sort of went, oh,
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd worked towards it so long, and it was the thing that was like keeping me going. And there was the early threats of Corona and blah blah, and it was like, then it was over, and I didn't have that thing to
focus on.
Yeah. It was,
Well, there's always 2020. Well, it will be back. Hardest 100 2021.
Without it, it's going to be better next year.
No one will be listening to that other 100 countdown. We only listen to the Hardest 100.
No shade.
I'm just kidding. All right, Pricey, I will let you go. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great as always. I feel like you and I could talk about music all bloody night. We're both terrible.
We could and we have.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for listening. Please give me 5 stars every single day. All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next week.